What is up, FPG fam? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Now, we all know Shenbae is more of a support character just based off of the kit that we see and her applicable 5-star weapon and what it's doing. It's all leaning towards Shenbae being a support character, but the question is she going to be able to do some decent damage? And that's what I wanted to go ahead and talk about today. Also, if you want to give your thoughts and opinions on this subject or this topic, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And I'll love to have a conversation with you guys. As well as if you do enjoy today's video, go ahead and drop a like. That means more now than ever on YouTube. So it's greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel, you enjoy the content, you enjoy Shenbae, go ahead and consider subscribing, join the FPG family. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Shenbae being able to do some damage. Now, of course, with her being mainly a support, that's not going to be a really important thing for her to do is damage, right? But what we've seen in the past with characters that we have in the game that can support, they've often been able to do some decent damage. If we take a look at characters like Zhongli, Albedo, Venti, and others, they can do some decent damage, but it's mainly within their skills, right? Whether it be their elemental skills or elemental burst is basically where their damage is coming from. And I think the same is going to be for Shenbae, but how are her stats otherwise in terms of base stats, basic attack stats, and things of that nature? Well, let's take a look at it. Now, I'm not going to show any information pertaining to Shenbae and her stats and numbers, which are subject to change. Keep that in mind when she officially releases in the game. But if we're taking a look at what we have access to right now, and a massive shout out to Honey Hunter World, appreciate it. I'll leave a link to their website down in the description below. We're going to be comparing her to other polearm users in the game, and specifically other 5-star polearm users that are in the game. So let's take a look at Shenbae's base stats based off of what we have right now, and currently I have Zhao pulled up. Shenbae's base attack stat is right now currently only lower than Zhao's and the Raiden Shogun's specifically. So that means her base attack stat is higher than Zhongli's, Hu Tao's, of course, Toma's, Rosaria's, and Xiangling. But of course, those other characters outside of Zhongli and Hu Tao are 4 stars. So that is the base attack for Shenbae. Now, if we're talking about her basic attack multipliers when it comes to, you know, the first, second, third, and fourth and fifth hit of the basic attack, now hers stops at the 5 hit damage. Obviously some polearm users have 6 hit damage, like Zhao for example, but if we're taking a look at the 5 hit damage at level 8 for Shenbae, it's actually pretty comparable. It's very close to the other polearm users that we have in the game. But the thing about polearm users is that you don't normally use them for their basic attacks, at least most of them. For example, if you take a look at Zhao, Zhongli, the Raiden Shogun, and others, when you're attacking with these characters, you're mainly using them for their elemental burst, their elemental skill, and things of that nature. For example, with Zhao, you're gonna pop his elemental burst and then go into plunging attacks optimally. With the Raiden Shogun, the same thing. You pop her elemental burst, and then that's where the basic attacks come from. With Zhongli, you're basically doing his elemental burst, not really basic attacking. Now, of course, you can if you want to and do some decent damage, to put it lightly, but for the most part, with polearm users, maybe outside of like Rosaria, you're going to be using them for their elemental burst and their elemental skill, and then that's where the basic attacks would be coming from. So the basic attack multipliers, not really anything to take a look at in terms of that, but if you wanted to, Shenbae is very, very comparable when it comes to the basic attack multipliers at level 8 at the 5 hit damage. Now, when talking about Shenbae's elemental skill, it has the press and it has the hold, right? So the only other character that I can compare it to that's, you know, fairly similar is, and I made this comparison before, is Eula, because Eula does have the press and the hold on the elemental skill. Of course, other characters do, but I think Eula is the most accurate comparison for this, at least in my opinion. If there's one that's more accurate that you believe, then let me know in the comments down below, but I believe Eula would be the most accurate. And if we take a look at level 8 for the press and the hold damage, of course Eula is more, but once again, it's for Shenbae, it's comparable. It's not far off in terms of percentage for both the press and the hold. So percentage wise, at level 8 for the press, we're talking about maybe 20% off, and then for the hold, roughly about maybe 90% off when it comes to the hold. So it's not that far. It's not that far off in terms of the percentage and the damage. It's very close. Now, one thing I did want to go ahead and ask you guys, and you let me know, because I found this to be very interesting, because I forgot that Eula does this on her hold, is where if Grimheart stacks are consumed, surrounding opponents will have their physical resistance and crowd resistance decrease. This is something that Shenbae does on her elemental burst. So does that mean it stacks? I want to know, and I want you to get your guys' opinions down in the comments below. Does that stack? Because as you can see on the hold here, the physical resistance decrease and the crowd resistance decrease is by a percentage here. Now, once again, Shenbae does this on her elemental burst, and I wonder if that stacks. And if it does, this combo right here of Eula and Shenbae, I think is going to be one of the best pairings that you can have in the game if this does stack. Now, for Shenbae's elemental burst, the way it acts and the way it is, I think the most accurate comparison, once again, let me know if there's a better accurate comparison, would be Venti's, because of the duration over time and because of the additional damage that it does. Now, Shenbae has an initial damage that is done on the elemental burst, and then if we take a look at the duration over time damage, once again, it's very, very comparable. At level 8, the duration over time damage is not that far off, and you have to also remember Shenbae has an initial skill damage, so it just may be a little bit better in terms of damage wise, but it's once again not far off from what Venti's is doing DOT. So if we take a look at the information for Shenbae, and we take a look at her multipliers, and we take a look at her base stat and what she's bringing to the table, not to mention you're probably going to be working on her attack stat just because of where the supporting capabilities come from and how you're going to be building her most optimally, I think she's going to be able to do some pretty decent damage. Now, of course, not main DPS worthy damage, but I think damage enough to warrant her to be viable if you need to use her in that type of way, or if you want to utilize her to be able to do some good damage. I think she's going to be able to do that for you and not be this trash support that's, you know, a carbon copy of other characters that are in the game. I just don't think that's the case. And I just wanted to go ahead and shed some light on this, because I know Shenbae has been getting some flack because of her being a support and her having very similar attributes as other characters that are in the game already. But I think she's going to be very unique, and I think she's going to be very strong, and I think she's going to have great synergy. But I think we're wanting something different than what we're getting. But I think nonetheless she's going to be an extremely good character, and I wanted to shed some light on her being able to do some decent damage if you wanted her to. Once again, not main DPS worthy. I think it's just along the lines of what we see for other supports that are in the game, if not a little bit better. But as always, this is just my thoughts and opinions, and I would love to get your guys's and see what you have to say about this. But I wanted once again to shed some light on this because I'm a huge fan of Shenbae, obviously, right? If you're here on the channel, you can tell this character is one that gets me excited to talk about Genshin Impact, and it's very similar to the same feelings I had with the Raiden Shogun, and you know how much of an advocate I was for the Raiden Shogun. Now, does Shenbae have some flaws? Of course she does, and if you want me to discuss those in a separate video, let me know. I'll definitely do that. That's not a problem at all. But nonetheless, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I just want to take the opportunity to thank you guys for supporting me here on the channel, for clicking on this video, for liking, and doing everything that you do for me. It's amazing. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much. I mentioned that before, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember to stand out, be different, have fun, go further beyond in everything that you do. And until next time, my boys, until next time, it's your homie Cody, and I'm out.